What's up, everybody? Welcome to Move the Sticks. DJ Bucky back with you. Buck, how are you doing, man?
Man, I'm good. It's Friday. You know, Fridays are always fun. Football Friday. So you got high school games that are taking place on Friday. You got the eve of some of these great Saturday football games. And then, Sunday has a nice slate of games as well.
No doubt. There's a big championship game down here in San Diego. We've got Lincoln High School versus Granite Hills High School. I was hoping to go to it at Snapdragon Stadium down there where San Diego State plays. Unfortunately, it's a Saturday game, and I am going to be on the move to Green Bay for that Chargers contest. But it's exciting. You love seeing these guys. You got to see it last year firsthand, see these high school kids get a chance to play in the championship atmosphere. Nothing better. So we wish everybody luck out there that's listening. If you're a high school coach and a bunch of high school coaches listening to the show, hope you guys are still going and wish you all the best of luck. It's a fun weekend of football.
Man, it's a great weekend of football. And look, I just love it. And you know what I love about this time of year is like the appreciation that we have for people that can orchestrate some of these dramatic turnarounds, like some of these downtrodden programs that we've seen, not only in high school, but at the collegiate level, how some of these have risen up and now they're in the top 20, top 25. They're making moves. And so I love watching this time of year to see if these teams can finish it off the right way.
Well, you lead me beautifully to our guest. We're going to get things cranked up, get it started here. Jedd Fisch took over at University of Arizona 3 years ago, and it has been a steady build from when he first got there to right now. They're in the top 25, and even the losses have been nail biters. They have been in every game. They are really, really a competitive, tough, physical football team. Coach Fisch deserves a lot of credit. Somebody I got a chance to work with the Baltimore Ravens many years ago, and a good friend. So excited to bring him onto the show and learn a bit about how this Arizona Wildcats program has risen up and is in a very healthy spot right now. Here's our chat with Jedd Fisch. All right, Coach, we appreciate taking some time for us today. First of all, it's great to see you again, man. I guess my first question, we'll get to the success of the Wildcats and how you've turned this program around. But my first question is, when was the last time you talked to Coach Belichick?
Oh, last week. I think last week. He calls me after every game.
And, does he really?
Yeah. And I spoke. He came to our spring clinic. He spent 4 days with our team. He spoke to our players. He spoke to. He obviously did the clinic, but he was awesome. And then spent time with our quarterbacks, and it was great.
I love that.
Coach, watching your program grow from afar since you've been there, the one thing I noticed, you have brought a lot of people in to kind of talk to your team about winning and the process of winning and a championship mindset and culture. And I just admire the way that you've gone about this process. Where did those ideas stem from? Was that something that you always thought about if you ever took over a team, that I wanted to kind of impact and impart all this knowledge on these players so we could turn this thing around?
Yeah. It was one of those situations that I felt as if, like, if you have a chance to use your connections or to your relationships, and you've got to take advantage of that. These kids don't have the type of access that some of us have had throughout the years. And, a lot of times some of the decisions that I made and some of the jobs that I had, I got very lucky for some of the guys that I worked for. And to be able to bring those guys in has been huge. Everybody that I've ever worked for has spoken to our team, from Coach Carroll to Coach Shanahan to Coach Caper to Coach Billick to obviously Coach Belichick's been here. I think he's been in Tucson 4 times already since I've been the head coach. Coach McVay's been in Tucson twice. But on top of that, it was important for us not just to bring in football coaches or Howie Roseman or, some of the GMs that I'm close with, but it was also important to bring in people in the real world. We brought the Surgeon General to speak to our team about COVID. We brought in, Chief Justice of the courts to talk to them about their rights. I think it's important. We do a We Educate Wednesday every week, and it's really about how can we educate these kids in manners that they can learn about life.
Coach, you talk about all the different influences that you've had. I just think about specifically being with you in Baltimore, and the emphasis there, was always about speed, toughness, instincts. And it looks like when I look at your program at Arizona, I mean, was that part of the mindset, part of your background that helped you to this? But that's when I look at your team, you've transformed it into a fast, tough, instinctive team.
Yeah, and that's been we talk here, about we say we want to be the most physical, the most violent, the most disciplined. And as we go ahead and do that, it's how fast can you run to the ball? How fast can you chase? How many people can be around the ball at all times? What type of discipline can we have in terms of making, being right there but not going over the line? and discipline and work ethic, discipline and doing things the right way over and over. And I think that those characteristics of Baltimore, those are huge. That's what you look for when you recruit guys. Do they have football instincts or not? I mean, we were doing a one-on-one yesterday, and Jaden, one of our quarterbacks, threw a back shoulder on a corner route in the end zone, and the DB coach came up to me and he said, "Was that designed?" I said, "No, those are just football instincts. When the corner overplays the corner route, I mean, he's able to make that throw." And I think that's what's gotten us to where we want to be, is we wanted to find guys with those instincts.
Coach, what's interesting to me is when I went to college, I played for Mac Brown in North Carolina. He was 1-10 before I got there, then 1-10 my freshman year. So 2-20 those first 2 years. And I just remember the work that it took to kind of change the mindset of a team and a program that had been losing. How hard did you have to work on the mentality of the players that you inherited and the players that you brought in to kind of shed some of those losing ways and that losing mentality?
Yeah, I mean, it certainly has been that type of adjustment. I mean, the program was 0-12 before we got here, losing 70-7 in the last game that they played. And then we went 1-11 in our first year, and then signed the best recruiting class that they've ever had here. And the point of that was we had to give confidence without evidence. We had to sell something of the future and make them believe that things were going to change. But what I appreciate more than anybody is the fact that we had the amount of people that believed in it. And if you don't have belief, you have no chance to turn this thing around, because it was not in a good spot. It was 1-23 over a course of a 2-year span. And you had to get everybody to say, why are we working this hard? Why are we working this hard and not winning? Why are we working that? Why is coach making us do this and do that, and all the different things that go into changing a culture? You need to see the results. Well, we kept telling them the results will come. You just have to trust it. And trusting the process is obviously, it's a lot of people say it, but it's really hard to do. And what I appreciate most about our guys is we say not only do you have to trust the process, but you have to embrace the grind. And it's going to come together with both things. And I think our guys saw and are now reaping some of the benefits. We've won 4 games in a row. We're in a better position than we've been, but we're still not where we want to be.
It's a different time in college football, Jedd. You look at, you talk about recruitment and the job you guys have done there. Now, the next challenge is retention. As you bring in all these players, I was talking to a mutual friend of ours last night, and he said he was at 2 different schools on visits as a scout. And he said both schools mentioned they think they're getting the same transfer quarterback this next year. Mind you, you guys are still, teams are still playing. This quarterback is on a team right now, and 2 different schools have been going after him and think that they're getting him. I mean, how do you balance this between recruiting the high school kids and you got to retain your own guys?
Yeah, I mean, it has become a big challenge, and it's disappointing in a lot of ways. And I think what needs to happen is the people that have left your program, you need to look to see how they've done. And you have to be honest with them, and you have to be honest with guys that come into your office and tell you, why would you want to leave if you're good? You want to leave if you're good because someone's offering you money. That's the only reason why you would want to leave if you're good. And what happens is you don't know what's going to happen next. You don't know where you're going to go. You don't know what it's going to look like. I mean, and next thing you know, you make a decision for 1 year's worth of college money versus a 10-year NFL career, possibly. Now, if you're good but not great, you're not really a retention issue. You're going to be retained. If you're poor, then, that's an evaluation issue. But in the end, the guys that are coming, the quarterbacks we're referring to and all that other stuff, is someone's going to try to offer them more money. And I wish those kids just took a step back and said, for what? 1 year? 1 year? Why are they coming after me? Because I'm doing great here. So how about do great again? Like,
Stop using logic. Stop using the logic, man.
And I've said this. I've said, the unique part about us here in Arizona is I coached in the NFL for 14 years. So when college coaches tell you we're going to help you get to the NFL, the real answer is, well, how do you know? How do you know? You've never sat in a draft room. You've never talked to scouts. You haven't had 4 years of an Ozzie Newsome draft room and listened to how it went. You never went and worked with Bill Belichick and talked about how you're going to evaluate a player, or Les Snead, or, Charlie Casserly, or all the different guys that you have the privilege of working with. I mean, Howie Roseman was my college roommate. Dave Caldwell now works for Howie. Dave was our GM in Jacksonville. So when we talk to these kids, I keep telling them, like, if you think going to another school and being less productive is going to help you get drafted, you are wrong. You're wrong. No matter what your uncle's telling you, no matter what your cousin's telling you, you're wrong.
Have you ever used a spreadsheet? Have you ever like literally or a whiteboard and said, look, okay, I'm going to assume that this school is offering you X amount of money. Look at the lifetime earnings of an NFL contract. Why are you sacrificing all of this for this?
I do it all the time.
Yeah.
I do it all the time. But the problem is it's almost, you're just using logic and it's too easy. You know, it's like, it's just a too easy conversation. If you're that good here, if you're that good here, then you'll get drafted.
Yep.
I promise you, all 32 scouts will come through Arizona. There's no doubt in my mind. We will have 32 eyes on you, plus. So be good. Be good. What are you going to make? A few $100,000 somewhere? $500,000, $250,000? I don't know the ridiculous money that people are getting paid, but that's nothing compared to what you're going to make if you're actually good. You know, if you're actually good, you can really make like a lot of money.
Yeah. You know what's so disturbing about it, like going down that route, and I want to be the old man on the lawn, but I just think the collegiate experience of being a 4 or 5 year player at a spot, having the alumni base revere you, and being kind of a legend in your own area. I think a lot of kids are missing out on that experience in terms of college. But as a coach, when we talk about this new NIL transfer portal era, how does it change how hard you can coach young people? Does it change? Do you have to treat them with kid gloves, or can you be the same coach that we've all grown up around, that could coach hard, could demand a lot from you, and not worry about the kid running to the portal right away?
Yeah, I think there's an awareness that you have to have now that maybe we didn't have to have. I mean, I think back, so 7 years ago, I was at Michigan, and I was coaching the quarterbacks and the wide receivers and the pass game coordinator there for Harbaugh in his first 2 years. And Jim's fantastic. And we had one transfer in 2 years. And I think to myself, you know, we brought Jake Rudock in. Jake Rudock was our starting quarterback in 2015. He surpassed Wilton Spade and Shane Morris and and those guys that were there. And then he graduated after his year. And then Wilton Spade became the quarterback. Nowadays, if you brought in somebody from another school to come be your starter, you'll have 3 guys go in the portal. And then they'll just start chasing this next opportunity. And then you start saying, what happened? Like, it's okay to be developed. And I think that you have to coach them honestly, and you have to coach them hard to develop them. I don't personally like to coach with kid gloves. You know, it's kind of not been how I was raised in this profession. If anyone's caught Brian Billick mic'd up anytime soon, or a guy named Bill Belichick, you know, like, I'm not saying that that's the only way, but that's kind of the way that I know. And so, you know, we don't coach with kid gloves, and yet we have to try to, you know, have a great relationship with the kids and build their trust. If you build their trust, they won't leave you. If you don't build their trust, then you can't coach them hard, and then they'll try to bail.
You've got so many different experiences, Jedd, over the years. I just be curious. You talk about learning from coaches. Are there 2 or 3 players that you've learned the most from as a coach?
Yeah. I learned a ton from Cam Newton. I mean, a ton. I was, you know, I got Cam in July of COVID, or June of COVID, as I like to say. So, you know, I had to try to teach him an offense that I was still learning over FaceTime, you know, and then Cam arrives, and Cam's original in regards to maybe how he dresses or some of his personality. But when you talk about the hardest working guy I've ever been around in my life, it's Cam Newton.
Wow.
His work ethic in the facility, what time he got there, what time he left, how hard he worked to try to become the best quarterback. You know, imagine following Brady, right? He was the guy that followed Brady. What he did was just incredible. And what I learned is that you could be an absolute superstar. He was a mega superstar, right? He's not just a guy. He's a mega superstar that came into New England. And that guy, he's drawn Y stick over and over to make sure he had it exactly how you wanted it. And everything in between. He's just phenomenal. And I would say the other guy that I just learned a ton from was Brandon Stokely. When I was the wide receiver coach in Denver, it was my first year as a position coach, and I had Brandon Marshall, Eddie Royal, Brandon Stokely, and Daryl Jackson.
Pretty good room. It's a pretty good room for the first time.
Yeah, it's like, here you go, Jedd. First year receiver coach, 29 years old. Here's your group. And and Cutler was our quarterback. And just Stokely was so good at managing the personalities of the room and knowing exactly how, as the third receiver, he could make Brandon feel like the absolute alpha. He could make Eddie Royal feel like, hey, you're a rookie, but I'm going to help you get 93 catches because I'm going to teach you how to run routes in a way you've never run them. And then for me, I could go to Brandon about anything. Hey, Brandon, how did Coach Clyde teach you this? Hey, Brandon, tell me the reality of if the nickel's really trying to jam you here. What does it really look like, rather than me just saying, run through the nickel and then just break out. You'll be fine. And so I've learned a ton from those guys and so many others along the way.
Coach, I think it's interesting you brought up Cam Newton, because one of the things that we've seen, not only on the collegiate level, but in the pro level, the quarterback has changed in terms of how stylistically they went from being a traditional drop back passer that threw from the grassy knoll to now they're these dynamic athletes that do all kinds of stuff. How has it changed your eye for quarterback when you're evaluating? And also, how has it changed how you teach quarterbacks who have the aspirations of going to the next level?
Yeah, I am so grateful that I had Cam before I got back to college, because, before that I was with Goff. Before that I was, with Josh Rosen. Before that I was with, you needed some experience of being able to coach guys that are throwing off platform. You were able to guys that can create plays that weren't there. You had to be more flexible and asking questions of like, what did you see there? Rather than just say, it's 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, whatever you want to coach it as. And thank goodness for Cam, because that is kind of the new wave. The quarterback that has the ability to make off schedule plays just as quickly as on schedule. They have the ability to make throws that aren't your traditional 3, 1 hitch, 5, 1 hitch, second hitch, go to the back, third hitch, go, take off and run, whatever it might be. And the extension of plays is what this game is all about. And I remember back in 2005 and 6 and 7, we were talking about your best athletes are your pass rushers, right? When you talk about guys over 250 pounds, they're not your linemen. So if you're going to have your pass rushers out there and they're just getting better and better, you better have a quarterback that can do stuff outside the framework of plays. And that's why when I, continue to develop, recruit quarterbacks and whatever it might be with quarterbacks in my future, it's all going to be about guys that can make plays outside of the perfect call.
That's fantastic. Coach, you've been generous with your time. It's great to catch up with you again. My last question, I'll leave you with this one. I'm looking over your shoulder and I see that cactus. Have you embraced the culture enough that at the Fisch household, do we have a cacti? Is that what we call it? What do we call it?
We have saguaros everywhere. I saw my wife had our Christmas lights up yesterday. I got home, right? And next thing you know, there were like swirls lit up in green. And I'm like, it's unbelievable. So, yeah, we love it here. And it's been living out here in the desert. It's been awesome.
That is fantastic. A Tucson Christmas. That sounds like an album you guys could record here. Hey, it's been fun to know you as long as I have, but to then see you just continue to progress and just take every opportunity and make the absolute most of it, man. I'm so happy for you and proud of you and wish you the best of luck.
Thanks. I appreciate it, guys. Good to see you.
All right, DJ, we're going to go to Coach's Corner. And this week I picked the word connectivity. Connectivity is something that is underrated, but it should be discussed when it comes to the team building process. And when I throw out the term connectivity, I'm actually talking about chemistry and camaraderie. And that chemistry camaraderie is not only player to player, but it's player to coach and coach to coach. The best teams that I've ever seen, that I've ever been around, they have this bond between everybody where everyone feels included. Everybody feels like they are a very important part of the team, and that the role that they are assigned is valuable and that you have an appreciation for that role. But the only way that you can gain that appreciation for what everyone is doing, the team has to be connected. That connection has to come not only through everyone doing the work that is expected, but having real conversations. In times I've used what we talked about with John Gordon before, hero, hardship, highlight, so that you can understand everybody's backstory. Because when you understand someone's backstory, you can gain a greater appreciation for them. And ultimately, yeah, everybody's a teammate and we're playing a game together. But what you're really doing is you want to do it out of love. And that love comes from the grace of knowing someone's story, what they've had to overcome to get to this moment. So you can appreciate them and know that, hey, whatever you're going through, I'm going to support you. Whatever I'm going through, you can support me. And because we have that support, we can go through this together.
I was jotting this down. Connectivity, and you talk about being able to get to know your teammates and be connected that way. I was thinking about how often that translates from off the field to on the field. And I just wrote down 2 M words here. Like if you understood everyone's kind of mission and then you understood their mindset, like those 2 M's, mission and mindset, and then you learn about that person off the field, man, that's going to help you when you get on the field. And then you start talking about connectivity. You start thinking about communication, how you can't have connectivity if you don't have communication. You've got to talk. You got to be able to talk when you're off the field. You got to be able to communicate when you're on the sideline. You got to be able to communicate when you're on the field. And connectivity, how many times have we seen it? How many times have we seen these talent-laden rosters? I'm a Padre fan, and I saw it this last year. They have more talent than anybody in the sport, and they weren't connected, and they didn't win anything. And we saw with you remember those Laker teams when Karl Malone and all those dudes came together, and it just didn't work. You got to have connectivity. The talent is one thing, but if you're not connected, it doesn't mean anything.
It really doesn't mean anything. Like you have to kind of be all in together. And the communication piece is important because you need a communication to hold everybody accountable. You cannot be connected if there's not a level of accountability. And you have to have the commitment in those things. But the communication allows you to have the connectivity. I've been around teams where they talk about everyone has to get off the mute button. You got to be able to talk to one another. And in the age in which we live, where everything is done by text message or TikTok or all of these other social media platforms, you have to look people in the eye and you have to be able to communicate one-on-one. And so if you can develop that level of connectivity that stems from great communication, within your team has the potential to accomplish anything that they want to accomplish.
So, well, I mean, gosh, this would have happened the cell phone thing really exploded probably after your playing career.
Right. Yeah, like right in the middle, like we had cell phones. Like I remember 97, 98, being in Kansas City. That's where Sprint or MCI used to be. And so I remember us getting the deal. I was grandfathered in on that.
Nice.
Sprint. And yeah, but
But I mean, if you're coaching a team, if you're coaching as a high school coach, I was going to say as a college coach, but you can tell me just as a high school coach, when you're having team meetings, like do you collect the phones? Does everybody have to put their phone on the table? Like, what do you do with that to keep that distraction away?
It's so funny because kids don't even realize how addicted they are to the phone. Like sometimes you're talking to them and they're listening, but their head is down still at the phone. You say, "Hey guys, put the phones away." And you have to do that. But here's the challenge and the trick: to think that you're going to completely remove it from
unplug them.
Yeah, you can't do it. So what you have to do is, I've learned, you have to give them technology breaks. And this is something that they do in the pros. I remember Jeff Fisher got laughed at when he talked about, hey, we've done studies about every 30 to 40 minutes. We kind of got to let them get out the room, let them go check their phone so they can re-lock in and do some of those things. And I know there are some teams in the NFL, when you walk in the doors, they kind of collect the phones. And then because it's such a distraction. But yeah, to build a level of camaraderie and connectivity that you need, you have to get out of the distraction of phones and make people really talk, not only to talk, but so they can fully listen and pay attention to what's being said.
Yeah, it is weird. I mean, we are of the age where we lived, in the pre-cell phone era and had a life before cell phones. And then obviously cell phones dominate life today. And so you have to remind yourself that these kids never had that. This is all they've known is that phone just being attached to them. But I think it does make connectivity, your word of the day here on Bucky's Coach's Corner, a challenge. It's way harder now to be connected than it was 30 years ago.
Because guys don't talk. So DJ, think of it from playing the sport. Let's think about let's play basketball, right? So in basketball, I wasn't a great basketball defender. I didn't really care about playing defense. But let's just say if we're playing basketball, you always have to talk about, hey, help side, right, I'm here, I'm down, or whatever.
Yeah.
You now have to teach guys how to talk and communicate on the field or on the hardwood because they're so used to sending messages to their buddies. What's up? What we doing?
Yeah.
All that other stuff. They don't talk to one another. So now encouraging them to talk so they can be connected and play on a string, like my old high school basketball coach used to say. That's where it comes from. The connectivity stems from great communication. They're interrelated. You have to have one, you have to have the other. Like, you got to be connected to be able to communicate.
That's one of the things too. I always, I think people make a bigger deal out of it than it is. Oh, they've got a ping pong table in their locker room. Like, they're not serious about football. And I'm like, you don't understand, like, that kind of stuff, that they put their phones down for 20 minutes. And actually, when you're playing ping pong, you're actually talking to another human being. You're not sitting in the corner with your headphones on, just staring at your phone. I would love for the guys on the team to be doing that.
Yeah, you want them to play. Like, that's some of the stuff, and that's why some of that stuff is encouraged. That's why you put those things in the locker room to make guys spin around. One of the things that happened right after Antonio Pierce took over the Raiders as the interim head coach, they put the basketball hoop in the middle of the locker room. Well, now you have Devontae Adams challenging teammates. They're playing one-on-one. Well, when you play one-on-one, there's conversation and banter that goes
Interaction.
on. Other interactions that are going on around that, because people are saying, oh, I got Devontae, oh, I'm going with the other guy, this and that. Some of these things have to be manufactured so you can create the communication that is needed to have the connection.
Yeah, no doubt. That's a great word today. Connectivity, Bucky's word of the day here on Bucky's Coach's Corner. All right, Buck, this has been a fun one today. Appreciate Jedd Fisch for joining us. Really did enjoy that conversation. We will be back next week. Actually, it will be, I was going to say 5 episodes, but I caught myself. There will be no episode. We're not recording an episode. Well, I think we're going to actually do Wednesday. Take that back. We might still have 5 episodes. Nabil, hop on here. Do we have 5 episodes next week with Thanksgiving? I can't remember.
Yes, we still have 5 episodes next week.
Okay, so we do have 5 episodes, but one will be pre-recorded, so that will not be on Thanksgiving. We'll record it on a Wednesday and roll it out on a Thursday. So we'll have those for you next week. Appreciate you guys hanging with us today. We'll see you right here on Move the Sticks.